Hello, everyone. My name is Tom Osypian. I am the product manager for GEDmatch, and I am really excited to have you all with us today for this webinar where we are going to be talking about getting started with Tier 1 tools and some of those essential strategies that you will want to use. And with us today is Ryan Russell, and really excited to have him with us. He's a very experienced genetic genealogist, and he's going to be walking us through this presentation. We will have a time at the end for Q&A, which you can see in the chat there. I pinned that. So if you have questions, there's a way that you can do this through the GoToWebinar platform, that the questions can be submitted, and then we will go through those and try and get through as many of them as we can at the end of this webinar. And Ryan is going to make available his slides after the presentation as well, so that you can take those and use those as a resource. Yeah, Ryan, welcome.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. And thank each one of you for joining us here today. Looking forward to spending some time with you talking about GEDmatch. My hope today is that I can make this as accessible as possible for as many as possible. I'm sure some of you here today have been Tier 1 members for quite some time, and maybe you have some experience with the tools. I hope that we can still give you something to work with today. But we also know that many of you here today are newer to GEDmatch, and perhaps you just began, or you've been on for a while but not made much progress with your research. My hope is today that we can help you get just a little bit further down the road. You'll see that I'm wearing my GEDmatch shirt today.
There we go. I've got mine on too.
Oh, very good. Great. Matching. The last time I wore this out in public, somebody asked me if this was a dating website. And so if you're here today for those purposes, you might be severely disappointed. But if you are looking for some help with genetic genealogy, you've come to the right place. And so we'll have a good time together. Yeah, let me give you a little bit of an overview about myself as we get started here. I began in the field of genealogy quite a while ago, just interested in my personal genealogy, like many of you, I'm sure, and building family trees and seeing how far back I could trace my family. And then eventually ran into DNA when there was a family mystery, and we needed to figure out why we were related to someone that popped up on our match list. And so that's when my interest into DNA began. And the next turn began with starting to help people solve unknown parentage cases, which I've had a chance to do a lot of those over the years through Open Door Genetics. And then I also work with Break Investigative Group and also Moxie Forensic Investigations. And so GEDmatch is something that I use all the time, nearly every day. And I'm happy to be able to share some tips with you, and maybe we'll learn some things from each other as well.
Awesome.
I want to let you know that we are going to be doing webinars on a monthly basis starting today. The plan is to do the final Friday of the month, and the focus is going to be on these various Tier 1 tools. And so Tier 1, if you're not familiar, is a membership that GEDmatch has, which just costs $10 a month. And this particular webinar we've made available for everyone, of course, Tier 1 member or not. But going forward, they'll be available just for Tier 1 members. And so if you are interested in taking that step today, I might encourage you to do that so you can participate in the series as it goes on. And as you can see at the bottom of my screen, I would love to hear if you have a Tier 1 tool that you would like to see highlighted in the future. Feel free to drop that in the chat, and we can take those suggestions into consideration going forward. At the end, though, I will tell you which one I plan to do next time. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. As Ryan said, this is kind of our kickoff of this webinar series that we really want to focus on Tier 1 tools. There's a lot of powerful tools that are in our Tier 1 suite, and so we really want to give a lot of value to our Tier 1 members. And this is one way that we want to do that, is to really help you understand the best way to use them, the strategies to use them, why they are used for certain reasons, and maybe why one tool is maybe preferred for a specific reason over another. So yeah, that's going to be the focus. We'll let you know what the next one's going to be about. And again, we're also going to look at having a spot in the forum just for tier one members. If you go into our GEDmatch forums, there is a place where you can discuss tier one tools, but we're looking at enabling just a specific, you have to be a tier one member to access certain parts of the forum where we'll likely have, some of these recordings in the future and things like that. So it is $10 US as well. Just to note there, $10 USD is that right now. So I'm not going to get into any more of the questions. I see them coming in, which is great. So please, yeah, feel free to ask those questions in that section of the GoToWebinar interface. But Ryan, go ahead and take it away. And I'm actually going to turn off the camera so you guys can just focus on Ryan and all the great stuff he's going to talk about.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Okay, so today the tool that we're going to focus on is one-to-many, which is sort of, I refer to it as the home base tool for GEDmatch. So if I can use a baseball metaphor, in baseball you have to start at home plate. From there you can move to the other bases, but you can't go to the other bases unless you start at home. And in the same way at GEDmatch, one-to-many is where everything begins. And once you learn to use one-to-many, then you can begin to go to those other bases. And so just to talk about the name for a second, because this helps us understand the significance of the tool, is that you are the one. And when you use one-to-many, we're comparing to the entire database, the many. And so this tool is basically a way to figure out how much DNA you share with the entire database. And you'll have a list, of course, of your matches, which we'll look at an example in a moment. So today I'm going to introduce this tool, one-to-many. And then I'm going to demonstrate how this tool can lead to multi-kit analysis. And that's another tool, tier one tool that sort of feeds off of one-to-many. And then finally, we'll explore some strategies for determining your relationship to any mystery matches that you may have. So if you are a beginner, this first step is especially going to be targeted at you. We'll introduce the very basics of how to use GEDmatch's primary tool. And then if you are already familiar with this, just hang on, because later in the presentation, I'll have some things that hopefully will help you know what to do with one-to-many and take it just a little bit further. Let's jump in. So first of all, how to access one-to-many. So from the homepage of GEDmatch, you see here that you can access one-to-many in a few places. It's listed under both the free tools and the tier one tools. So there is a free version and a tier one version. I'll go over the differences a little bit later, but you can click on the top of those two where the arrows are pointing in each case. That is the newer version of one-to-many that's available. You can access it there, or you can also, as you can see towards the bottom, actually click on your kit number. Your kit number will actually take you to one-to-many. So if I clicked right there, it would take me to one-to-many tier one, since I'm a tier one member. If I was not, it would take me to one-to-many, the basic version. So that's where it all begins. And it will take you to a screen that looks like this. And let me mention a few of the things you see on the screen. First of all, at the top of the page, notice there are some links to YouTube videos that can help you figure out how to navigate these tools later on. So that's a helpful resource for later. But if you look at that first arrow, you see this box where you're supposed to put in your kit number. And you can type it in, or you can press that green arrow for the drop-down menu, and it will give you the kit numbers for the kits that you have uploaded to GEDmatch. You can also just type in a kit number of anybody who perhaps has given you their kit number. And then if you look at the second arrow, you'll see that I've highlighted the limit. And so right now, if I pressed go, it would pull up my top 500 matches on GEDmatch. I can also go upward from there. Now on the free version, you can pull up to 3,000 matches, but then you reach your limit. And the tier one membership allows you to go further to actually pull up 7,500 matches all at once. And so that is one difference between free and tier one. Most of these presets here, I would just encourage you, especially if you're newer to GEDmatch, just to leave them as they are. As you get more advanced later on, you can experiment with changing some things around, but leave these presets for the most part. And then you can press search, and then you will get your match list. And here is what that looks like. You're going to see a chart with a lot of columns. In fact, there's more columns than I was able to fit on the screen right here. But we are going to spend some time going through each one of these columns and making sure you know what it is and what it's telling you. If you look at the arrow, however, I do want to point out that you can actually sort or filter the columns by using those arrows. And so if I were to click those arrows right there, it would sort my chart by largest segment. And you can sort either by biggest first or smallest first with each one of these columns. So that's a helpful tool to remember as well. And that's available in both the free and the tier 1 version. So let's look at our first column, and it is your kit number. And so your kit number is your unique GEDmatch signature. It's going to have 2 letters such as BW followed by about 7 numbers. And so anyone who has your kit number can see your matches. And so if you give it to a friend or to a family member, they're going to be able to see your match list. And you're actually able to see the match list of your matches as well. We'll get to that a little bit later. And that's one difference from some of the testing companies that you perhaps started with, is that on those sites, usually you're only able to see your full match list. Unless you have to be logged in as you in order to see that list. But here you can see the match list of anyone whom you have their kit number. And then some of the kit numbers are going to only have 1 letter of the alphabet, and that means that they were sort of the early generation of GEDmatch uploads. So originally GEDmatch had just 1 letter, A for Ancestry, M for 23andMe, and so on. And then over time, things have complexified, and now you're given 2 letters, and they don't necessarily correspond to anything in particular. This is just a randomized kit number that you've been given. Okay, then we have the name and email fields. These are self-explanatory. Each user can use a name or an alias. If they have used an alias, then it's going to begin with an asterisk. And then on the email field, you'll see that those are privatized with some asterisks. But if you click on that link, if you click on the email address, the whole full email address will pop up. And I want to encourage you not to email your entire list of matches. I know how much I love to get spam emails. I know you love spam emails as well, but as tempting as that might be, don't email your whole list. That's actually against the GEDmatch terms of services, and probably not a very effective strategy either. And so first, work on determining a goal and reaching out to people on purpose for a reason. We'll help with that as we go along. But anyway, don't send one to the whole list. The next column to note is notes. And when you click on notes, something like this pops up here. And this is a place for you to write down anything that you want to remember about your match here, Nathan Jones. You can write things like, he's on the paternal side, he's a second cousin, who's your common ancestor. If you want to create a contact log between the two of you, so that you can remember what happened and when. All of this can be very helpful. We like to think that we're going to remember everything that happens, and then reality sets in. 6 months later, we cannot remember what has been done. And so you can save this note here, and only you are going to see it. It's private, so you don't have to worry about anyone else coming in and looking at your notes. So definitely take advantage of that. The next column here, GED/Wikitree, refers to whether the user has a family tree. And so this GED acronym here is short for GEDCOM, and a GEDCOM is a file type, and it's a file type for a family tree. And that's what it's called, not just at GEDmatch, but everywhere. If you download your family tree from Ancestry or MyHeritage or whatever, it's a GEDCOM file that then you can take and upload to another site. And so this column right here is telling you if that person has uploaded a GEDCOM. And you can see with my blue arrow that that particular kit has. And then Wikitree is a site where people will upload their tree, and sometimes it will tell you you can link your Wikitree to GEDmatch as well. So if that person has a GEDCOM, there are 2 views that you can see. The top right one here is the more colorful one with the boxes, is the pedigree view, and this is new to GEDmatch about a year ago, and it's a nice visual way to see that family tree. The lower one is the classic view where you just get names. And so whichever works for you better, you have those two options. And I will say that if you look at your match list on GEDmatch, you'll probably find that there are a number of people who do not have a family tree there, and you are wishing that they had one uploaded, because it would make your research a lot easier. And I would just encourage you to be the change that you want to see. So maybe a good step for you today would be to go ahead and upload your GEDcom to GEDmatch, so that your matches will love you, but then also maybe it will inspire or encourage them to do the same as well. It certainly makes research a lot easier when we have trees available. Okay, the next two columns are very important here: total CM and largest. And so CM refers to centimorgan, and centimorgans are how we measure how much DNA you share with another person. And so there is a whole chart that you can consult that gives ranges for how much different relationships share of DNA. So, for example, a parent-child relationship is about 3,500 centimorgans. A grandparent relationship is about 1,700. A first cousin is about 800, although it can range from as low as 550 to 1,000. A second cousin one would be about 250. So each potential relationship has a range of centimorgans. And so when you look at this column right here and see how many centimorgans you share with someone, you can begin to estimate what relationship you might have with that person simply by looking at these numbers. And so this is one of my favorite and one of the most important columns on one-to-many is the total CM. The largest column here is going to tell you how long your largest shared segment with that person is. And so in a lot of cases, especially with your bigger matches, you're going to share multiple segments of DNA with that person. And so it's telling you here how long the longest segment is, in this case, 37.4. And in general, a principle here is that longer segments equal more recent connection. That's a general statement about how things work. If you're someone who comes from an endogamous population, then you may know that one of the best strategies for actually sorting through your matches and identifying the most helpful matches is to actually look at the segment lengths. And so you'll probably want to sort your matches by this column and pay a lot of attention to the largest segments among your matches. Those will be your higher quality matches right there. And I will note that the letter Q is kind of hanging out in that column. Pay attention to that. We'll come back to Q in just a moment. I want to show you what happens when you click on those two numbers from the previous slide. So again, here they were. When I click on 94 in tier 1, here's what I see on the left side. This chart pops up, and what it's going to do is give me predictions about what kind of relationship I might have with this person based on, looks like I pulled this up for a 213 centimorgan match. And it suggests certain groups. So you see the second cousin group, second cousin first removed group, the third cousin group, and so on. And on the right side, it gives you the percentage chance that this 213 centimorgan match fits within that group. And you can see here that the best chance is that this person is within that first one, the second cousin group. But then notice underneath, there are actually still a number of relationships that this person could be to me within that group. So they could be a second cousin, they could be a first cousin twice removed, they could be a half first cousin once removed, and so on. And we'll talk about how to narrow down these options a little bit later. But for now, just pointing out that if you click on that total centimorgan number, it brings you to this chart. But please note that that only happens in the tier 1 version. In the free version, you don't get this. You just simply get the number that you share. And then on going back to the largest column right here, if I click on this number, 37.4, it takes me to the one-to-one comparison tool. And this one's the same in free and in tier 1. But basically, this is a way for me to look at the different segments that I share with this particular match. And so you can see here in this case, there's about 8 different segments that I share with this person. The far left column tells you what chromosome they're on. It tells me how long, how many centimorgans each one of those segments is. And if you were to add up those, they should equal the total CM value. And so this is a way to sort of zoom in on the particular match and how it is that you share DNA with that person. Okay. Now I mentioned Q that was hanging out on the side. Let's come back to Q. If you click on that Q right there, it takes you to another tier 1 tool that's called Q one-to-one matching. And on the right side, you get a little glimpse here of what that looks like when pulled up. And it's telling me about some chromosomes that I share with this person on chromosome 15. But basically, this is another way to zoom in and notice how many centimorgans you share with a particular match. And actually, this is the most accurate way that you can determine how many centimorgans you share with a particular match. So there are 3 ways on GEDmatch to figure out how many centimorgans you share with another kit. And all of them are good, but it's sort of a situation of good and better and best. And so the one-to-many tool that we're talking about today, that total CM column, it's taking a quick sweep and it's telling you this is how many you share with the person. But if you go to one-to-one, between you and that other person, you might find that there's some variances in that total CM number. And the one-to-one is actually a better indication of how much you share. But then the Q tool is actually the best. It's the most accurate reading of how many centimorgans you share with that other match. And so for the matches that are very important to you, that are critical to your research, it is worth taking a little bit further and clicking on that Q so that you can see the difference. Now, it's not going to be a great difference. You're not going to find that it was 50 on one-to-many and it's 300 on Q, nothing like that. But there are some variances that can happen within a small range, and so those are worth paying attention to. The next column on one-to-many is called in common with. It's abbreviated to ICW. And what you can click on, if you look at the blue arrow, is that blue button that just says match right there. And what this is going to do is it's going to show you matches that you and this match share in common. So let's say that this is John. He's my top match here. And I want to know who John and I share in common, which matches we share. I'm going to click on that button. And when I do, I'm going to get a screen pulled up just like this. And if you look at that name column in the middle, the first blue arrow from the left side, you'll see that all the people who are mentioned in this name column are people that share DNA with both me and with John. Okay, they share with both of us. And so we would say that all of these people are in a cluster with myself and with John, and that in most situations we're going to have a common ancestor that is holding us together. Okay, and so those are our shared matches. And then if you move to the right a little bit, the second arrow, that's my kit number that's blurred right above it. And I can see in that column, the shared column, how much I share with all of these people. Then if I move to the right, I get to see how much John shares with all of these people. And so it's a useful tool for figuring out relationships now within clusters and groups, not just how many certain individuals share with you. Next column is the source. And this actually tells you who this person originally tested with. Just a reminder that GEDmatch does not sell DNA kits. And so you never test with GEDmatch, you test with someone else and you upload from that other site to GEDmatch. And so right there in that column, it may say ancestry, it may say 23andMe, family tree DNA, MyHeritage. And then also if you see something, and these are pretty common, in that column where it says migration F2, and then it has a letter, you want to pay attention to that last letter. And I've given you the code right here of what those letters refer to. And so that's helpful to know where the person has come from. And especially if you have not tested at that database, of course, that's one of the big appeals of GEDmatch is that if you've not done 23andMe, but they have, now you're getting matches that you otherwise wouldn't have access to. The overlap feature, this is a little more technical, but it basically is telling you the number of genetic markers, or we call them SNPs, that 2 DNA kits have in common, and that GEDmatch can compare when determining matches. And so in general, the higher the overlap number, the more quality the match is in terms of the better read that GEDmatch has been able to get on it. Age. Okay, so this is how long ago the kit, your matches kit was uploaded. This is not the matches age. So if someone is 1642, it doesn't mean that they've been around since the 4th century. That would be cool, but unfortunately not reality. It is measured in days. Okay, so you need to do the math and divide by 365. And so that 1642 match would have uploaded about 4.5 years ago, and that can potentially give you some clues of how to best communicate with your matches as well. Haplogroups. So haplogroups, there are two columns there on one to many. One of them is the paternal, the Y haplogroup, and the other is the maternal, the mitochondrial, the MT. And haplogroups deal with your direct paternal and your direct maternal line. Okay. Now, if you are biologically male, you have two haplogroups, both the Y and the MT. If you are female, you only have one haplogroup. You only have the maternal, the MT line, simply because you don't have a Y chromosome. And so some of the testing companies will provide you your haplogroup when you take the test. For example, 23andMe does that. A haplogroup is basically a way of figuring out what your ancient population group is. And so if you followed that, your father's line all the way back, where did they come from? And the mother's line, where did they come from as well? And so this haplogroup is manually entered by the user. It's something like R1b2. That would be an example. And so you have to manually enter that either when you upload the kit, or you can do that later. And so a number of your matches won't have the haplogroup, but some of them will. Okay, so just a reminder about what we're up to and what we're on to next. We've introduced to you most of the columns from GEDmatch's one-to-many tool. The next thing we're going to move on to is to demonstrate how this tool can lead to what's called multi-kit analysis, or MKA. Multi-kit analysis is a tool that you can find within Tier 1, but you can also access it from the one-to-many page. And so I'm going to show you how to do that now and show you how you can further examine several of your matches at once. Okay, so you see I have one-to-many pulled up right here. And notice on the far left, we have a column titled Select. It's not one that I mentioned earlier, but notice that it has some boxes that you can check, and when you do, they become blue. And it's worth noting that this is only available in Tier 1. And so if you are on the free version, you won't be able to select those boxes, but in Tier 1 you can. And when you select some matches, so if there are particular people that you're interested in and you want to learn a little bit more about, or maybe how they relate to one another, you check those boxes and then you click the green button at the top that says Visualization Options. And when you do that, it's going to take you to the multi-kit analysis feature. And there are a lot of things going on here, and certainly don't have time to tell you about all of them. I would encourage you to just play around and see what you can do here on your own time. But I do want to teach you about a couple of things that are especially useful. First of all, that first arrow at the top is pointing to the kit numbers that you just selected a moment ago on the previous screen. Those are going to show up there, and they'll show up whether you chose 2 or whether you chose 200 kits. They'll all be listed right there. And then below, you see that there are some titles, and you see that I have clicked on the matrices title there. And when you click on this tab, there are a number of different types of matrices that you can run, but the one that I find most useful is called the A matrix. And A stands for autosomal DNA. And so for example, when you see the total CM column and it tells you how much DNA you share with that person, that is measuring how much autosomal DNA you share with them. It's the basic kind that we use more than any of the others. And so what I can do is I can click on this A matrix button right now. And what it's going to do is it's going to take those kit numbers that I selected on the previous screen, and it's going to run a matrix that looks a little bit like this. And what this chart is doing is it's telling us how much DNA all of these people share with one another. So you can see in that top row, it's telling me how much I share with these 4 other kits. And of course, I already knew that because I could look that up on one-to-many. But now what it's doing is it's showing me how much all 4 of these other kits share with one another. And you can see from the blank white spots that there's a couple places where those people don't match one another. But then you can also see that there are other places that they do. And so this is a really helpful tool that you can find through multi-kit analysis called the A matrix. Another great feature here on visualization options is the tag groups. I find that tag groups are one of the underutilized tools here at GEDmatch, and so let me tell you a little bit about those. I can again select some kits, and then come here to visualization options and tag groups, and I can create a color-coded tag group that will put all of the people I've selected into a group together. And so, for example, I could call this group my paternal side, and I can click there to choose a color that I can assign to it. And then this is a really useful tool because then all of my paternal matches will be marked with a certain color. And so, for example, if you're someone who is lucky enough that your father is uploaded to GEDmatch, then what you could do is you could go to one to many, find your father there at the top of your list, and then go to the in common with feature, and it will pull up all of the matches that you and your father share in common. And essentially, what that's doing is it's showing you all of your paternal matches, right? All the people that you share with on your dad's side. And then you could go to visualization options right here, and you could click on tag groups and put all of your paternal matches into a group together, so that they are marked as paternal matches. And so when you do that, take a look what happens. On the right side, let's say you chose the color blue. Now that there's going to be a blue, background over their kit number next to every paternal match. So this is extraordinarily useful. Of course, you can see here I did both the paternal and the maternal lines. And so theoretically, that should, all of my matches should be marked one way or another. You could also go back and create more tag groups for deeper branches of your tree, that help you go even further back. And so this is a really helpful tool. On the left side, I'm showing you here that you do want to notice with the filter here that if you look at the arrow, there's a feature here where you have to turn the tag groups on. So you can select all or you can select one. And then when you click search, that's when you're going to get the blue and you're going to get the pink that you're seeing on the right. And so again, a very useful feature there in multi-kit analysis. Very good. Very good. Okay, so let's zoom out for a moment, and I want to make sure we talk about the difference between the free version of one to many and the tier one version of one to many. Here are the tier one capabilities that are not available through the free version. First of all, the free version has a match limit. So you can see up to 3,000 of your matches on the free version. Tier one, you can see much more. You can see 7,500 matches that will pull up at once on the tier one version. The second is, as we looked at earlier, the total CM. When you click on the number that's in that column, tier one is going to bring up this relationship predictor that's going to give you an idea about what are the possible different relationships you may have with that person. That's not available in the free version. The Q one-to-one matching that I showed you earlier, and I referred to it as the most accurate way to figure out how many centimorgans you share with someone. That is only available through tier one. Again, not available through the free version. And then there's a couple other filters that are useful. So on one to many tier one, you can click a button that is select all with GEDcoms, and it will automatically click that little box next to all the GEDcom ones, and then you can take them to visualization options if you want or whatever. And then tier one also, again, allows you to select those boxes and to go to visualization options so that you can do things like use the A matrix or create tag groups. Again, you need tier one for all of that. And then the final difference is one that I just learned about recently, is that you can actually search each column on the tier one version of one to many. For example, right here in the source column, that little box underneath is a place for you to type. And so you can see I started typing 23, and all of my 23andMe matches were filtered to the top through that search. And I found that this is also helpful in the name category, the email category, things like that. It does an exact search for each of the columns. So again, these are the reasons that you might want to consider using tier one. Related to one to many, obviously there's other tools as well, and we'll get to those in future webinars, but these are the differences, at least, between the two options within one to many. Okay, now we are going to explore some strategies for determining your relationships to some mystery matches that you might have. And so here's some of the payoff for the skills that we've learned earlier on. And all of us have come to the point in our research where a name pops up and we think to ourselves, who is this person and how in the world are we related? And maybe that's someone way down your list, or maybe it's the first person on your match list for you. But either way, I want to give you some strategies for at least figuring out how that person could be related to you. Are they close? Are they not close? And how, and what branch of your tree might they be on? And how are you going to figure it out? Okay, so I'm going to give you 10 strategies for figuring out how you're related to mystery matches. The first one is simply to just check to see if they have a tree, and if they do, celebrate, because this is going to make your life easier for sure. And so again, look in this column, GED wiki tree, to see if there's a GEDcom there or a link to wiki tree. And if they have a tree there, then that's perfect, because you can look at that tree and see if there are any familiar surnames. And so perhaps you have the name Honeycutt in your tree, and you look at their tree and see that they also have Honeycutt. Well, that's going to tell you that, okay, we are probably connected through the Honeycutt family. Do you see the same common ancestor there? Dig in and just see where the connection point might be. And again, you can use that tier 1 feature, select all with GEDcoms, so that you can instantly pay a little more attention to the matches you have that do have those trees. Okay, so that's obviously a great starting point. If they have a tree, you're in business. The next thing that you can do is just think about how to predict the relationship that you might have with this person using the total CMs column. And again, if you click on the total CMs column in tier 1, you get a chart like this on your left side. We looked at this just a little bit earlier, and it's showing you which relationships are most likely. Now, let me give you some advice on how you can sort of narrow down the options. One particular way to do that is if you know anything about their age, that can really help you. So for example, on average, there's about 25 years between generations. And so if someone is about 25 years older than you, it could be a once removed relationship. If they're 50 years older or younger, it could be a second removed type relationship. And so perhaps you have reached out to this match, and you've talked a little bit, about how old they are in relation to you. Maybe you've even found them online somewhere else. And let's say that you found they're 50 years older or younger than you. You might at that point start paying attention to the options here that are twice removed. And so in this particular case, I would be looking at the second cousin group and saying, I would think there's a pretty good chance that this person is a first cousin twice removed because of the age gap that I know is there. I'm going to start with the hypothesis that they're a first cousin twice removed. And then from there, I can know where to look on my tree to find that person based on where a first cousin twice removed would be. And so anyway, this is a way that you can begin to predict your relationship by simply using the total CM column. The third tool that you can use is by looking at the in common with matches. We saw this chart just a little bit earlier. You remember that I talked about wanting to figure out who John and I shared in common, and that these people in the name column all showed up as shared matches between John and I. What you can do is take a look at the people's names here in that column and see if you recognize any of them. See if you know these people personally. See if any of the surnames are ones that you're familiar with. Because here's the thing: if you know how one of these matches is related to you, then that means that your mystery match is probably also going to be related on that same line. And so if cousin Susie shows up here and she's your maternal first cousin, then that tells you that this mystery match is probably related to you on your mom's side as well, because she matches not only you but cousin Susie also. And so this is a shortcut, can be at times, to just tell you what branches of your tree you ought to be looking for to find that mystery match. The next thing you can do is you can run the A matrix that we talked about earlier. And so as you noticed from the previous screen here, if you look, there are boxes right here that you can check next to their names. And when you select those boxes, then you can go up and you can click this submit button right here. And it's going to take you to the visualization options screen. And just like we did earlier, you can go to the matrices tab and you can click on the A matrix. And of course, again, that's going to take you to a chart like we saw earlier, where you can figure out not only how much DNA you share with these people, but how much they share with one another. And perhaps you can learn some things. For example, you might find that there's a set of siblings within this cluster that are related to one another very closely, or maybe first cousins. And that can be some data that helps you to figure out not just how you're related to them, but how they're related to another, which could help you in the long run. Okay, so you can run the A matrix from the in common with. And again, just a reminder that you can really first go to in common with, and then from there you can select those matches and it will take you to visualization options so that you can run the matrix. The fifth strategy, this is one that's probably less often used, is you can look at your match list. So remember, if you have someone's kit number, you can see all of their matches. And so here's a glimpse of my match list right here. If I was to click on the kit number right there for one of my matches, then it would take me to their match list. And so what you can do, for example, is you can take a look at their match list and ask, does this include any of their close relatives? For example, you might see that there's a parent who they have on their match list, or they have a sibling, or they have a first cousin, something close like that. And then you can ask yourself, okay, does that close relative, are they on my match list too? And if they're not on your match list, then that tells you that you match this person on the opposite side. So, for example, if I was to go to this match right here, number 3, last name White, and I pulled up their match list, and I noticed that their father was on GEDmatch, but their father is not on my match list, then what that tells me is that I do not match this person on their father's side. Then I match them on their mother's side instead. And so then I could reach out to this match and I could say something like, hey, I believe that I'm a match on your maternal side. And of course, if they have a tree, then I can just focus my attention on the maternal side. So this can be helpful in some situations. Another strategy, number 6, is to find your match at their original testing company, if of course you've also tested there. So if you look in the source column and you see that this person has tested at Ancestry, if you have also tested at Ancestry, go to Ancestry and pull up your match list there. And you can search that person's name and see if you can find them there. And then perhaps they have shared information on Ancestry that they have not shared yet at GEDmatch. So obviously, if they didn't have a tree here, but they have a tree there, that could be huge for you, because then you can go back to that first step and look at their tree and figure out what those common surnames would be that you share in common. Or perhaps they have shared some other personal information about themselves there, maybe their age or where they live or something like that. All those can become clues that you can use to figure out how you may be related to this person. There you go. Number 7. These last few are probably going to be a little more advanced. So for those of you who have been working with us for a while, this is probably better suited to assist you. But you can check the haplogroup column. And of course, this is only going to be useful if you personally know your haplogroup. Again, 23andMe does provide that. So look there if you've tested at that site. But you can look and see if any of your matches share the same haplogroup as you. And what that would do is it would tell you that that person is likely a match to you on that line. So for example, if the person had the same Y haplogroup as you, that would tell you that this person probably matches you on your direct paternal line, and you match them on their direct paternal line. If it's the mitochondrial one, it would be the opposite. They would match you on your direct maternal and you on their direct maternal. And just a reminder that you can sort these columns by clicking those arrows to pull up the ones that have provided the haplogroup. And so this can be a helpful tool in certain situations, just to give you a little more info about where to look on your tree. XDNA, we've not talked about much today, and certainly don't have space or time here to go into a lot of info about XDNA. But for those of you who already know something about it, this is a type of DNA that can help you figure out which of your family lines the match potentially belongs to. And so we have 2 columns here. We have the total CM of XDNA, and then the largest segment of XDNA as well. And so when you have this information here, what you can do is you can consult an XDNA inheritance chart. And there are 2. There's a male chart and a female chart. You can see that I have the female chart down below. And what this chart does is it tells us all the potential ancestors that you might share DNA with another person with. And so this is a fan chart. So picture this as your family tree in fan sort of format. And so you can inherit xDNA from all of these ancestors, the ones that are blue and are pink. If someone is in a white blank space there, you can't inherit xDNA from that position. And again, this is the female chart. The male chart is a little different. It's actually even more limited. And so all that to say, if you do share xDNA with another match, then that tells you that your common ancestor is going to be one of these regions that is either blue or pink. So that can do some things to help you rule some potential lines either in or rule them out. Last one or next to last one is segment mapping. And so this is, again, pretty advanced, but and it's only going to help you if you've already done some segment mapping. But there are some among us who have spent quite a bit of time figuring out which ancestors all of their segments have come from. So for example, this is a screenshot from a one-to-one tool, and it's telling me that I shared a long 76.8 centimorgan match with this particular person on the 7th chromosome. And down below, you can see the blue region with yellow on top. It shows me where that segment is within the 7th chromosome. And so if I have already done the work to know that this particular segment on my 7th chromosome goes all the way back to the Crouch family and my 3rd great grandparents, that's where this segment comes from. Then when I get a new DNA match and that new match shares that same segment that I've already mapped, then that's going to tell me that that this new match must also come from that same common ancestor as well. So anyway, if you've done some segment mapping, that will certainly help you out long term. And then 10th and finally, the lowest hanging fruit, reaching out via email. And of course, I put it at the end because I would encourage you not to start there, but to go through, at least a few other steps before you get to this point. But eventually, all of us need at some point just to reach out and say, hey, how are we related? And so I would encourage you to reach out to that match if you need help and explain that you're a match at a GEDmatch. Keep in mind that people in the database have different levels of expertise and even different levels of memory that they have uploaded to GEDmatch. I often will consult the age column, not to tell me how old they are, but to tell me how long ago they uploaded to GEDmatch. Obviously, someone that's uploaded 2 weeks ago is going to remember that. Someone that uploaded 8 years ago, who knows? Maybe they're an expert that uses it every day, or maybe they've long since forgotten that they uploaded, and so you never know what you're going to get. But I would encourage you when you reach out just to share what you know, first of all, and then to ask a clear question. And a good example would be something like, do you have any of the following surnames in your tree? And maybe give them a list of some of the most important names in your tree that you're trying to connect to. And so anyway, email can certainly be a helpful feature. And I have found that people are willing to get back to me on GEDmatch, certainly not always, but probably at a higher rate than some of the other sites, simply because they took all the effort and time just to upload here. And so you'll probably find that you have some positive interactions through email. Okay, so today we have introduced the one-to-many tool. We've gone over the columns. We've talked about how we can take that into multi-kit analysis through things like the A matrix and the tag groups. And then we've explored 10 strategies for determining your relationship to some of those mystery matches that we all have. I do want to tell you that the next webinar, we'll take questions in just a moment here, but the next webinar is coming up on, again, the final Friday of April, which is the 24th. And that one will be called From Segments to Stories, Turning DNA Data into Ancestral Discoveries. And we will focus on 2 tier 1 tools in particular that are called segment search and triangulation. And they share a lot in common, although they have some significant differences. And just a reminder that will be for tier 1 members only. And so if you enjoyed today's presentation or you found some things that you feel like you could make use of within the tier 1 tools, we would encourage you to take that step to sign up for tier 1. And we'd love to see you next month at the next webinar. So what questions do we have, Tom?
Ryan, awesome presentation. Really enjoyed it. And I always love just seeing the detail that, you get into and what what's available in these tools, and there's a lot, right? GEDmatch, there's a lot of tools, there's a lot of power there, and it's easy to kind of miss some of those little details, like you mentioned, the search columns in the one-to-many, how you can do a quick little sort if you want to look for just your ancestry matches, just by typing that in, and then those could be people that you can again go over to Ancestry and see if they have a tree, if it's not already in GEDmatch. All right, we've got a lot of questions, so we're going to try to get through as many of them as we can. So thank you all for typing those in, and I'm just going to start rolling through them, and we can just actually, let me just do a quick sort here so that I can see the ones that I want. Feel free to keep typing them in, and I'm going to go back and review them in a minute, but I'm going to go for the questions that are the right tag here. Okay, here we go, and then I'll sort by this first. All right, so a question from Amanda. So why do you get different matches from your own kits from different companies, such as Ancestry, MyHeritage, 23andMe? So essentially, if they've done multiple tests, they uploaded it to GEDmatch, why do you get different matches between different kits? What are your thoughts on that, Ryan?
Sure. I'm not entirely sure I'm understanding the question. So sorry if this is not going the right direction. Obviously, people have tested at different sites, but not all the sites. And so you're going to have some of your matches tested at Ancestry, but they've never taken the MyHeritage test, or vice versa, which is definitely part of the draw of GEDmatch, is that someone can upload from any site. And then you don't have to pay for, or all the tests, or upload to every database. You can find matches that are all of the other ones. Now, you should see if you have a match, let's say at MyHeritage, like GEDmatch is showing you they're at MyHeritage, but then you go to MyHeritage and you can't find them. I have experienced that before. The most likely scenario is maybe they have deleted their kit from that site. That's also possible, but it's also possible that they're using a different name or alias or something like that, or username. And so that's potentially why you could struggle to find that person there as well.
Yeah, and if you've uploaded a test that you've taken from Ancestry and MyHeritage, and then you're looking at the match list on GEDmatch for each of those kits from different testing companies, you will see differences in the matches.
Got it.
Based on the testing company you took it from. And that's just due to how, again, that overlap that Ryan mentioned. Each of the testing companies, they target different parts of your genome. And depending on what those are, some companies have specific SNPs, was what it's called, that they target. And so you might match differently with some matches with one DNA testing company test on GEDmatch versus another. So there's just some variance there. Super kits, we haven't talked about that, but that's a very cool tier 1 tool where you can take your DNA kits on GEDmatch from different testing companies, combine them into one kit, and then use that as your primary kit to really get a better kind of comprehensive set of matches. So for a future webinar, perhaps.
Yeah, that's a great tool, the super kit. And I would encourage you, like, if the differences are minor, like if your Ancestry kit is saying 83 centimorgans, the other one's saying 85, I mean, that's not unusual, and that's not it's pretty negligible in terms of like the relationship predictions. Like if you pull up the chart for both of those numbers, they're going to be almost the same. And so I don't think you're going to see any, big gaps or big differences between the two. They're going to be usually pretty minuscule.
Cool. Another question from another Amanda, or maybe the same. Can you determine which side your matches are on, so paternal or maternal, if you upload your Ancestry kit? And so this is probably more of a generic question of how do you determine paternal versus maternal with any testing company that you upload to GEDmatch? What are maybe a quick strategy here and you can recommend?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to do it is to do the in common with anybody that you already know. So is there any match that you know on your list who is you already know is maternal or paternal? And then does that and then using that to sort the sides, okay? And so if there's not anyone that you know, do you have someone you can get to upload who has taken a test but they're just not on GEDmatch yet?
There you go.
You can take a test. Because without having any known common denominators, it's difficult and pretty advanced. It would take a whole other webinar probably to teach some of the methods. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. All right, question about the notes. So the question is about notes being private and no one else being able to see it. Does this hold true if you're working with someone else and entering the same kit number? And the answer is yes. The notes are private to you. So there's no way anybody else can see them. When you leave a note on a specific kit, one of your matches kits or your own, you only see that note, even if someone else looks at that kit or that kit comes up in their match list.
Right.
So that remains entirely private. Going to the next one. They uploaded their ancestry raw data back in 2017. Since then, they tested FTDNA, MyHeritage, most recently 23andMe. Should they upload a newer test run on a different chip? It's not going to hurt. I mean, you can upload it and then see what the data is. You know, you can, if you're a free member, you get up to 5 kits that are uploaded or for free that you can manage in your profile. Tier 1 members, you have unlimited kits you can manage in there. So you can always upload it and then see if you get better results. I will say, just to be frank, the 23andMe most recent test, we do see some issues with those. The matches are not as good for whatever reason. And so, yeah, you can definitely do it and see what kind of results you get, see what kind of matches you get. It's not going to hurt. So yeah, so Ryan, some of these I'm just going to, I will take, but some of them I'll need you to answer. There's a couple of the questions we had around some of the DNA testing companies and the newer tests that are coming out. So the whole genome tests that are being offered by, let's see, MyHeritage right now, right? They have one that they're offering, and then I think Family Tree DNA is going to be offering theirs as well. And should they do it? So we're doing some research on this. So we've already had one of our devs do the MyHeritage test and get it back, and then upload it for the new whole genome test. And our initial analysis of it is that the match results, the matches are not as good as the previous version. So we're looking into why, right? We've got a lot of data, different testing companies, you know, so we can do some analysis there. So we're looking at why and looking at how we can kind of share our knowledge on that, and then looking at, you know, other things we can do to optimize perhaps, you know, those types of kits. So we've only seen MyHeritage and only one kit, so it's a N of 1, but we'll see as more of these come in how they perform. So you will be able to upload them. That's the answer, but it does still have to be in, you know, essentially the format that GEDmatch accepts. So I would say that MyHeritage or even FTDNA are going to be providing you with that DNA data that GEDmatch would accept. And if they don't, you might have to do some conversion work to do that on your own. But again, once we know more, we'll try to publish some knowledge-based articles in the GEDmatch support portal on that. All right, let's see. Multi-kit analysis and tag groups, marking maternal and paternal side with a color. Same question, can someone else see the color? No, only you do. We are working at fixing that with tag groups, how you could share a tag group with individuals. Right now, that's not enabled. And Sharon asked us, thanks Sharon for the question. So right now, the answer is no, but we're looking at re-enabling that. Okay. All right, here's one for you, Ryan. Is there a way to identify, and this might be a nice little teaser for the next one, what triangulation matches you have with all the kits in GEDmatch? And if so, the chromosome number and CM range for each of those triangulation matches. So is that possible?
Yeah, so that's actually
Bruce,
what we're going to be.
Bruce, thanks for that question.
That's what we're going to be doing next week, or next month at the next webinar. We'll take a look at the segment search and triangulation tools. And that's what the triangulation tool is designed to do, is it's designed to help find triangulations on different segments. And yes, it does show you the length. And so to answer your question, yes, and we hope to see you next month. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Sherry has a question about family trees. So she has hers in Ancestry, synchronized it to Family Tree Maker in her computer. How does she anonymize living people before uploading to her come to GEDmatch to maintain privacy? The great news is we do that for you. So if someone is living, we automatically anonymize them. And this was another question that was asked by another individual. So you don't have to worry about anonymization. If you look at your tree, you will see your name, your birth date, your place of birth, things like that. Individuals in your tree that are deceased, that information will be public because they're deceased. So if you want to anonymize maybe deceased individuals, you can do that manually on your own. But living individuals are automatically anonymized by GEDmatch whenever you upload. And then maybe go back to real quick while go through some other questions. How do you go to multi-kit analysis? If you can maybe jump to that slide, perhaps.
Sure.
How do you get to it from the one-to-many tool?
Yeah, let's do that. So it is right here. So notice I've got one of many pulled up, and notice that the far left column there is select, and you can only select those boxes if you're on tier one. They'll be grayed out if you're on the free version. But you select the ones that you're interested in, and then you click that green button above it that says visualization options. And it might be that if you're on the free version, you don't even see that there. It's only going to be a tier one enabled feature. But when you click it there, then it's going to take you to this menu right here. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. I do see a lot of questions around the recordings and that sort of thing. So Ryan's going to make his slideshow available, the slide deck available after this call, recorded after this webinar. And then this is recorded, so we will make this available for the public. To sign up for future ones, we'll let you know as a tier one member, even free members, that, hey, we've got our next webinar coming up, but you will have to be a tier one member to sign up for it, as well as to access the recordings. It'll be a tier one only benefit for the future webinars, but this one will be available for everyone. So that's something that you can definitely look forward to. So we'll email you the link to this when it's available, as well as how to get access to that slide deck there. As far as tier one costs, again, it's $10 a month, or you can pay $100 a year right now. And so you can go ahead and do that just by logging into your GEDmatch account, and you'll see at the bottom of the screen, upgrade your membership. We can definitely put a link into that in the email that you'll get after this as well to be able to do that. So we can definitely make sure you guys have that. You can buy tier one for 1 month as well, and you can just try it out and see if that helps. All right, lots of great questions coming in. We are at time, but we're going to keep taking some questions. Ryan, I think you got a little bit of time left, right?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Awesome. XDNA. So Marie asked about that. What companies support providing that information?
Yeah. So let's see. So that's a good question. You're going to make me think on my feet here. Of course, regardless of what company you test with, even if the company doesn't tell you, then when you upload it to GEDmatch, GEDmatch will give you that data. So, for example, Ancestry does not tell you anything about XDNA, but when you upload the kit to GEDmatch, now it becomes available to you, even though it was previously hidden. So 23andMe, last I remember, did have some XDNA. Like it would give you some info about that. Family Tree DNA does for sure. My Heritage, I'm forgetting. Someone in the chat will help you with that question, I'm sure. But anyway, it does vary. But again, GEDmatch takes the file that the testing company has, and even if the testing company hasn't done anything with XDNA, GEDmatch does give you that information.
Awesome. Good question about family trees. So Nadia said, family trees are always being updated. Should you periodically reload your tree to incorporate updates? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, certainly to keep it the most accurate, and to if you're expanding it and adding on more generations, then that would be good, because it's going to help your matches even more. So that'd be awesome.
Awesome. And then Ellen had a question, and this is one I'll take. You took two tests with one company, and there's large differences, I'm guessing, in some of the match results that he's seeing. So is the newer test likely to be of higher accuracy? Ellen, that's a good question. Maybe shoot an email into our support channel, support@gedmatch.com, and give us some more detail about your kits and kit numbers, and we can definitely look into it and give you some insight there of maybe what it could possibly be. Yeah, you can definitely see that. Help us. We can see how we can help you there. Karen asked about overlap. And Ryan, do you want to talk a little bit about overlap? What does it mean? What are some things you want to look for? Are there minimum overlaps you want to look for between two kits, or when does it get down to a number where you're kind of like, is there some things to be concerned about?
Yeah, so I'll say that, like, 23andMe, for example, has a very low overlap. Its overlap number is going to be much lower than like an Ancestry or Family Tree DNA. And that just has to do with, again, which SNPs that are being read within the process.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily mean that your 23andMe matches are less accurate. I found that they typically do fine,
Mm-hmm.
um, but um, I think that personally, if I see a company in the source column that I'm not familiar with, that I've never heard of before, then I'm usually paying attention to that overlap, because at that point in time, I want to make sure that this is actually a good read.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, and if it is, if the number, if it, and I think Tom, tell me, isn't there like a red? It doesn't go red if
It
it's under a
does,
certain.
yeah. So if you get under 100,000 SNPs
Mhm.
overlap, the color will change. You'll see like a lighter pink if it's in that higher range, and then as it goes lower, you're going to see it get more red, and it's kind of your little warning signal, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean the kind of rule of thumb that we have is if it's under 100,000, you do want to maybe do a little bit more digging into that match, perhaps. If it's really low, then perhaps you don't want to consider it as a real match. If it's a testing company you haven't heard of, depending on where you are, there are some testing companies that are newer that are in different parts of the world that the SNPs they target maybe aren't as optimized for GEDmatch or for genetic relationships. They might be more healthy oriented, and they have some genetic familial relationship SNPs in there. So those are ones you might want to just be a little more, do a little bit more research on, perhaps.
Yeah, and 95, probably more than that, percent of your matches are going to come from one of these sites right here, on the screen. Living DNA is another good one as well.
Mm,
And so, when I see outliers beyond those, then I'm usually pausing a little bit and just trying to do a little research.
yeah, there you go. Sandra has a great point. So Roberta Estes, she is a great GEDmatch user, has written a number of articles on GEDmatch, and she has a great one about the results differences in the older tests and the newer ones from each of the companies.
Cool.
So she's done some research. It sounds like very enlightening from what Sandra said. So that can be something that we can put into, maybe then I can put that in the next newsletter and send that out. Let's see here, some other questions I wanted to cover. Oh, do we have a segment DNA painter tool? No, we don't, but hey, DNA Painter is awesome. Johnny Pearl's a great guy. He's come out with his tools are really neat. So that's what's great is that he's made them compatible with GEDmatch, so you can kind of copy over your segment data, which I don't know if you're going to get into the next webinar, Ryan. Of maybe I don't know if you're going to
Good. Yeah, we could.
potentially pull that in and say, hey, here's how you can use some of that stuff, that DNA Painter stuff. But yeah, you can copy that data over into his DNA Painter tool to do some of that painting.
Great.
Okay. Okay. Here's one that's a good one from Sandra. She just found out that she has a different father than her sister. Where does she begin? She has some ideas from Ancestry, but it is overwhelming for her. So, what would you say, Ryan? What's the next step that she would want to take?
Yeah, a resource that I've created that could be helpful is on YouTube. If you
Mm,
just search Open Door Genetics, I'll pull up the slide here. If you search right there, Open Door Genetics on YouTube, there's a video series called How to Find Your Family Using DNA, and it'll take you through some steps that you can utilize. And don't be afraid to ask for help. So feel free to reach out if that could be helpful. Yeah.
awesome. Um, Jennifer said that she's been a tier 1 member for a couple of years, and you've educated her in areas she wasn't aware of. So thank you. So Jennifer, thanks for that. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Jennifer.
And then Bruce has some thoughts on the Y-DNA test, and you mentioned haplogroups, right? And that's where
Yep.
you get the Y-DNA test is going to give you that information. And someone else asked the question, where do I put that in GEDmatch? So if you're uploading your DNA kit, there's a section for haplogroups. So if you know that when you're uploading it, you can just drop it right in there. If your kit's already in GEDmatch, you can just go to edit kit. And if you're on your main dashboard, there's a little pencil icon or edit button. You can just click that. And then there's a section for haplogroups, and you just paste that in there. So so that's how we link the two, if you will, to one of your DNA profiles.
Tom, I think it's also worth noting that the GEDmatch is not a Y-DNA database. So it's
Correct.
not like you could upload your Y-DNA and
That is
find
correct.
Y-DNA matches. Family Tree DNA is the only database really at this point who's doing that. And so the haplogroup you can help because it may help you in various ways, but this is
Yeah.
an autosomal DNA database. So that's worth noting. Yep.
There is a mito-wide DNA database called mitowidedna.org. So it is growing, but you can upload your mito Y. You can upload that there, your Y and mito DNA to that site. So something to think about if you have taken that test. All right, a couple more questions. So whenever you are assigning someone to a tag group, a kid to a tag group, can they be in more than one tag group?
Yes.
Is that okay? So they can. And is there a quick way of seeing matches that aren't assigned a cluster, like a color, a tag group color?
So I mean, I think, for example, let me get over there. So I would just say that when you, this may not be that helpful, but if you look at the right here, obviously if batch number 7 was not in a tag group, it would just be blank, like it would be white, rather than blue. So I mean, you can scroll down and just see which one doesn't have a tag group. So that could help. Like, let's say theoretically you put all your matches into one of two groups, paternal or maternal, so they're all marked. But then as you get new matches over time, you would have to go back and add those matches in. And so the ones that were not marked and were only had a white background, you would know were probably new matches. But I don't think there's a way to filter or search for those who don't have a tag group. Not that I'm aware of, Tom. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea, perhaps for a feature. Yeah, show me matches that aren't already in a tag group, so you're kind of getting just newer ones, if you will, or ones that you've not maybe associated with the tag group. That could be something we could think about as a feature we incorporate. But that's a good idea. Nancy has a good question here. So on Ancestry, she has her deceased father's and her deceased brother's DNA. Is it possible to add them to GEDmatch to enhance her own potential for finding matches? Because she's saying her paternal line is her dead end one.
Absolutely. As long as you have the ability to log in to that Ancestry account and, and to, get the file over to GEDmatch, I mean, it would definitely help you if that's the question. It certainly would, because with every generation further back that you go, you're going to get higher centimorgan data and more matches, and so it would certainly be an aid to getting closer to finding out whatever answers to questions that you have.
And if she did that, then she could phase her kit, which is another
Yep.
fun tier 1 tool, and it helps you kind of really see your paternal maternal matches potentially as well. So yeah. All right. We did have some questions around the coding, like migration F2-A or migration V3-M, and there is M is. There's some questions around what is accurate, what is correct. I know Kitty Cooper has a blog post about this, and you've got some things on there as well of what those are for the original testing companies. Again, this is the kind of a different, older version of GEDmatch and how we, we're naming things back then. So, yeah, I think there's something that we can do. Maybe we can publish that in a knowledge-based article to, answer folks' questions there.
I would note that there is a difference between these. Show up in two places. It shows up in the kit number, the old kit numbers, and then right here. And so if you look at this, you can notice that like M is 23andMe and T is Family Tree DNA. But then over here, it does sort of switch. And so there's some, it can be confusing, I know. Yeah.
Yep. That's a good point. I think maybe where the confusion might be a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to just wrap this up. We've gone a bit past our scheduled time. And so Ryan, thank you so much for preparing this presentation and sharing, all of your knowledge on some of the best practices around getting started with tier 1 tools, the one-to-many tools, some of the essential ones you outlined there. And again, we're very excited to have this as a regular webinar series for our tier 1 members. So thank you all for joining. We will be making, again, this recording available. And if you do have some more questions, feel free to, our forums are a great place. I do want to plug our forums. So if you've not checked out our GEDmatch forums, we really want to build our community, and forums is a great way for you to be involved, asking questions, and helping others if you've been around a while and you know GEDmatch. So please definitely check out our forums. And but if you have a technical question, technical support issue, things like that, our support channels are going to be great for that as well. So thank you all. Appreciate you all being here with us, and we'll see you next time.